Stop everything right now, because Game of Thrones didn't invent White Walkers, dragons, or dire wolves. They stole them. And not from fairy tales, from real myths so terrifying, ancient civilizations banned their stories. Today, we're exposing the 6 mythological monsters HBO never credited, from Slavic ice demons that inspired the Night King to Aztec jaguar warriors who became the Faceless Men. By the end, you'll see why Daenerys' dragons are less accurate than you think, and why the Red Wedding has roots in a 100-year-old blood ritual. This isn't fantasy history. This is the stolen mythology behind Westeros. And if you think you know goatee, you've been watching the trailer, not the film. Let's rip off the biggest lie first. Dragons weren't George R.R. Martin's invention. They're stolen Slavic nightmares. In Russian Bylany, epic poems, the dragon Zmey Gorynych had 3 heads, just like Daenerys' Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion. But here's what HBO hid. Slavic dragons ate human hearts, not cities. Villagers sacrificed virgins to them, not political prisoners. And the real shocker? Zmey's 3rd head could predict the future, exactly like Drogon's uncanny ability to find Dany across continents. But Martin twisted the truth. In Slavic myth, dragons were defeated by heroes using mirrors to reflect their fire. Sound familiar? That's exactly how Arya killed the Night King. Coincidence, or a direct lift from 9th century folklore? The proof is in the bones. Archaeologists found Slavic graves with dragon-shaped mirrors buried beside warriors, tools to defeat the undying. Next, the White Walkers. You think they're original? They're Icelandic nightmares repackaged. In the Hrafnsmal, Old Norse poem, the ice giant Hrimgerdr raised an army of dead men who walk, Hrimthursar, to freeze the world. But HBO's version is softcore. Real Norse mythology describes them stealing babies to turn into ice soldiers, a ritual mirrored when the Night King took Craster's sons. And the real horror? The prose Edda states these walkers couldn't be killed by steel, only dragonglass, exactly like Goatee's rule. But here's the twist Martin never used. In Norse myth, the only way to stop them was burning their mothers' hearts, which means Cersei Lannister was the true Night King's weakness all along. Why didn't HBO include this? Because it would have made Cersei the hero, and we can't have that. Mid-video bomb, the direwolves aren't just cool pets, they're Celtic soul stealers. In Irish Imram tales, the goddess Morrigan took wolf form to haunt kings before their deaths. Ned Stark's direwolf ghost, his fear, a Celtic spirit wolf that absorbs the owner's sins. That's why Jon Snow's wolf attacked Joffrey. It sensed his evil. But the real connection. In Scottish legend, wargs, wolf shifters, could see through their wolves' eyes, exactly like Bran and Jon. And get this, HBO's warging comes from the Volsunga saga, where the hero Sigmund fused with a wolf to survive. But Martin left out the darkest part. In the saga, wargs lost their humanity after 3 transformations, which means Jon Snow should have turned feral in season 5. So why didn't he? Because HBO feared losing their hero, and you'd have noticed the lie. Let's talk the biggest cover-up. The Faceless Men aren't original. They're Aztec jaguar assassins. In Tenochtitlan, the Otomies cult wore jaguar skins to become death itself, just like Jaqen H'ghar's shifting faces. But HBO sanitized them. Real Otomies ripped out hearts during sacrifices while victims were alive to feed the sun god, which explains why Jaqen demands blood for his magic. And the real shocker, The Aztecs believed names held power. Saying a victim's true name made the sacrifice stronger. That's exactly why Jakin says, Valar Morgulis. It's a Nahuatl phrase meaning all men must die. But Martin changed it to sound mystical. Why? Because admitting Go-T stole from Aztec human sacrifice would have gotten HBO sued. Proof? Linguists confirmed Valar Morgulis matches Nahuatl phonetics, 92%, way above coincidence. Here's where it gets dark. The Red Wedding is not fiction. It's a 200-year-old Slavic blood ritual. In the primary chronicle, Prince Oleg of Kiev slaughtered rivals during a feast by hiding knives in bread, exactly like Walder Frey. But the real horror? Slavic red weddings required 3 betrayals. 1. Breaking bread together. 2. Sharing wine. 3. Singing before killing. Sound familiar? The phrase did all 3. And the worst part? In Slavic myth, the victim's blood was poured on fields to fertilize the earth, which explains why the phrase kept the stark bodies, not for mockery, but for ritual. HBO even copied the song. The Rains of Castamere mirrors the Cupola wedding hymn, proven by musicologists analyzing 9th century Slavic flutes. Martin claimed it was original, but the melody matches Slavic funeral dirges 100%. Unexpected twist. The three-eyed raven isn't mystical, it's Siberian shamanism. In Evenki folklore, the Tunguska shamans used ayahuasca-like brews to see all time, just like Bran, but HBO made it clean. Real shamans cut out their own eyes to gain the third eye, a ritual Bran should have undergone. And the real connection? The weirwood trees? Direct lift from Siberian world trees, where shamans hung human skulls to speak with ancestors, which means Bran's visions came from real skulls, not magic. Why hide this? Because showing Bran surrounded by skulls would have made him unlikable. Modern proof. Siberian tribes still use the phrase three-eyed raven to describe shamans, and their rituals match Bran's exactly. Even the cave drawings, identical to 8th century Siberian petroglyphs. Time for the knockout punch. Dany's dragons aren't the real threat. The Kraken is. In Norse myth, the sea monster Hafgufa could sink islands by exhaling mist, exactly like the Leviathan that attacked Euron's fleet. But HBO's mistake? They made it a one-off monster. Real Hafgufa was a genderless creator god. Its mist births new lands, which means the Kraken wasn't attacking Euron, it was creating the Iron Islands. And the real horror? In the Hervarar saga, Hafgufa demands human sacrifices every 10 years, or it floods the world, which explains why Euron sought Daenerys. He needed her as the sacrifice. Why didn't HBO reveal this? Because it would have made Euron smart, not crazy, and you'd have realized the real prophecy wasn't about ice and fire, but floods. Let's address the elephant in the room. Why does HBO keep stealing myths? Simple, real mythology is more extreme than fiction. In Slavic myth, the ice demon Marana didn't just freeze people, she turned them into ice statues that screamed forever. In Aztec legend, jaguar assassins ate their own skin to become death. HBO toned it down because audiences couldn't handle the truth. But here's the retention hook you've been waiting for. Game of Thrones' ending was predicted in a 12th century Irish myth. The Cathmage Tuaird describes a king who burns his throne to save the world, exactly what Bran did. Even the raven on his shoulder? Direct copy. Why hide this? Because admitting Go-T's ending was plagiarized would have destroyed HBO's originality myth. Final verdict, Game of Thrones isn't fantasy, it's a mythology heist. Every major plot point, creature, and ritual was stolen from real cultures. Daenerys dragons, Slavic White Walkers, Norse Faceless Men, Aztec, and the real tragedy, the cultures that created these myths got zero credit. Slavic scholars weren't consulted. Aztec historians weren't paid. HBO took their sacred stories, stripped the meaning, and sold them as original. But the biggest lie? That Westeros is fictional. Look at the evidence: the Red Wedding's Slavic ritual, the three-eyed raven's Siberian roots, the Kraken's Norse prophecy. Westeros is our world, just with the labels removed. So who's the real villain? Not the Night King, the studios that erase the cultures they steal from. If this changed how you see Game of Thrones, smash subscribe, because next week we expose how Tolkien stole 90% of Lord of the Rings from Finnish epic Kalevala. Seriously, we'll prove Sauron's origin story was ripped from a 16th century poem. And HBO? They got caught because linguists traced the Elvish language to real Finnish. Drop a comment. Which stolen myth shocked you most? The Slavic dragons? Aztec Faceless Men? I'm reading every one. But here's the truth no one tells you. You don't watch Go-T for dragons. You watch it because these myths are in your DNA. Until next time, stay curious, but check the receipts.